Good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. We will be discussing about the Indian Express newspaper. We will take up few important articles which would be important from your exam point of view. So let's start. We'll start with the three articles we'll cover first. These articles are important for you. Supreme Court on crop burning. We know that there is this pollution issue going on in Delhi, and now Supreme Court proactively has given some directives to the government. So we'll talk about that, and then India had highest TB burden. When we are talking about tuberculosis, India has the highest burden as of now. So we'll be talking about that. This is a report by WHO. We'll talk about that particular report, and we'll see what other countries in the region are having similar problems. And then concerning bank borrowings of NBFCs. These NBFCs are non-banking financial companies. So basically, these companies are now borrowing from the banks, and when we are talking about these borrowings, most of them are going towards a trend of unsecured borrowing. So that is why this is concerning. So a body of RBI has given this concern about this NBFCs. Okay. So we'll talk about these three articles. Other than that, we will take up some miscellaneous article. We'll look at an editorial at a glance, world affairs, and then I have added one segment here, practice question. That would be one for your prelims and one for your mains. So we'll start. Okay. So you can share the link of this particular session with your friends and other fellow aspirants. Okay. We'll try our best to cover all the articles from the Indian Express. So question on odd even scheme says it's all optics. So basically this scheme is to start from 13th of November after Diwali, okay, in Delhi. So that is why Supreme Court says that it is all optics. And other than that, Supreme Court gave directions about this crop burning. They have said that crop burning should be stopped as of now. We will look at the long term plan after that, but as of now you should stop this crop burning, because of which this level of pollution has been increasing since last 6 days in Delhi. Okay, so that is why they have given some directions. They have said that they asked state of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh to take urgent steps to stop farm fires, which are said to be substantial contributor to the pollution. Okay, so basically we know that there are 2 or 3 factors which are leading to the pollution in Delhi. One of them is this crop burning. Then there is this vehicular pollution, and then you can say there are some meteorological phenomena which are basically working behind this particular issue. Okay, we cannot do anything about this weather phenomena, but we can do something about it. So for this vehicular pollution, we have gone for this odd even scheme. Okay, despite this scheme has not worked in the past, but we are sure that this will take away around 16 lakh vehicles from the road. Okay, that will give a huge scope. Okay, after that, when we are talking about this crop burning, there were efforts, long-term efforts has been going on by the state governments, etc. But the thing is that has not given a substantial result. Okay, so as of now, Supreme Court for an immediate effect said that you should stop this crop burning right now, and they have advised, or you can say they have given this power to SHO. The SHO of the area will be responsible for this thing, and he will be reporting to the Chief Secretary of the state. Okay. So that is about this. We will be looking about in this a little bit deeper. They have said that you should stop this particular thing. They asked Delhi government why smoke tower installed in the capital are not working. So we have taken this smoke tower concept from the China to reduce this emission, to capture the dust particle which are in the atmosphere. So basically there has been some towers which are installed in Delhi, but they are not working. Okay, so they have given direction to the Delhi government that you should start these towers as soon as possible. Okay, after that they have said that for the long term solutions, when we are talking about, you should go for alternate crops rather than just paddy. Okay, when we are talking about this crop burning, most of this is because of the particular species or variety of paddy crop. Okay, so Supreme Court has said that you have to move away from that. For that you can use this MSP scheme, in which you can give less intensive for paddy and more for the other crops. Okay, so that is one thing. Cultivation of a particular breed of paddy has actually led to this particular issue of crop burning, or this crop residue burning. A third crop between Rabi and Kharif season. So basically this specific variety of paddy is being shown between Rabi and Kharif season. So that is a third crop. Okay. So and other than that, when we are talking about Punjab, Punjab does not go for consumption of these paddies. Okay. So what they are doing is they are actually cultivating it for selling, etc. Now the thing is MSP in this area, when we are talking about paddy, MSP is high, because of which there is one more issue that the neighboring states are smuggling this paddy crops inside Punjab, because of which there is a pressure on the exchequer of the state. Okay, that is one concern, but that is not important here. So Supreme Court has said that you should go for the alternative crops. Cultivation of paddy which is not consumed in Punjab is a problem. And other than that, there is another environment implement, or you can say element here. When we are talking about this paddy cultivation, it takes a lot amount of water. Okay, because of which in Punjab there is a problem of groundwater depletion. So that is one issue here that ultimately harms the environment only. So that is why Supreme Court is saying that you should move away from this particular phenomena of growing paddy even when you are not consuming it. Okay. Paddy cultivation must be phased out to be substituted with other crops. Okay, giving minimum support price for alternative crops rather than going for paddy. So these are some long term plans which has Supreme Court given directions about. Other than that, there is this issue of smuggling of grains into Punjab. This has been mentioned by the councillor on the side of Punjab government. And then you have to make renewable energy a norm and not an exception. So basically when we are talking about Delhi, we know that there has been efforts to go for renewable energy sector, green buses. We know we are actually expanding the public transportation system in Delhi. Okay, when we are talking about this odd even system, this is basically for the vehicles on the road. But when their public transportation system is strong, even if you go for this system, it will not hinder the communication. Okay, so that is one thing here. You have to make renewable energy a norm and not an exception. So most of the pollution related issues are because of the fossil fuels. So we have to phase out this fossil fuel within the in a phased manner. Okay. Other than that, councillor has said that there is a location related issue, or you can say weather condition related issue. Supreme Court said that we cannot do anything about this weather conditions, but we can do about this pollution related to crop burning and the vehicular emissions. We cannot be dependent on the weather condition alone to hope for some redemptions. Okay. So that is basically which has been discussed in this particular article. They have said that you have to reduce this emission because of the crop burning. For that, immediately you can stop this crop burning, and responsibility has been given to the SHO. This is the immediate solution, and for the long term solutions, they have said that you have to phase out the paddy cultivation from Punjab area, because that is not a natural phenomena in this particular region. Okay, so that is what has been discussed. Here we have discussed both long term as well as short term plans, or you can say directions which has been given by Supreme Court. You can write these things in your answers, because these are some valid points which has been raised by Supreme Court. Okay, we have discussed the smoke tower related issue, paddy cultivation related issue, and vehicle related issue. Okay, so whatever we have discussed is given here in a crux format. The court directed the state of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh to take urgent measure to stop farm fires. Responsibility to stop farm fires is being placed on the SHOs under the supervision of Chief Secretary in the state. The court raised concern about the non-functioning of the smoke tower which has been installed in Delhi and ordered that it be made functional. Long-term measures were suggested, including shifting to alternative crops, phasing out the cultivation of particular type of paddy responsible for the stubble burning. Okay. Other than that, the misuse of the minimum support price system which is been in place for paddy was discussed with the smuggling of grains into Punjab. Okay, the court also directed the Delhi government to monitor and prevent open burning of municipal solid waste in the city. So there is this one problem of burning of solid waste in the city. So court has directed to monitor this particular phenomena and prevent it. Now India has the highest number of TB cases globally in 2022. So this is the report by WHO which has been monitoring tuberculosis for a long time now. Okay, so when we are talking about the cases as of now, they are saying that these number of cases, since they are monitoring it, are the maximum number of cases. Okay, so incidence is increasing. Other than that, here some factors are being discussed. We will discuss the report. The report features data from 192 countries and revealed that 7.5 million, approximately 75 lakh people were diagnosed with TB in 2022, highest figure since WHO began global TB monitoring in 1995. Okay, since 1995 till now, these are the highest figure as of now. Okay, top 8 countries account for nearly 2/3 of the burden, and India is among the top of them. Okay, India is accounting for nearly, you can say, 27% of the burden. Okay, nearly more than 25, more than 1/4 of the TB burden is accounted by India. Other than that, the other 8 countries are Indonesia, China, Philippines, Pakistan, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and Democratic Republic of Congo. So mostly these countries, you can say, are belonging to global south. Okay, so that is about this introduction of the report. Other than that, there were other discussions which has been done. World Health Organization's 2023 Global TB Report. In 2022, India accounted for the highest number of tuberculosis, that is 27% of the globe. We have discussed that. Overall, 30 high burden TB countries are accounted nearly around 87%. So 30 countries of the top 30 countries accounts for 87%, and when we are talking about top 8 countries, that nearly accounts for 2/3, or you can say more than 66%. Okay, India recorded 2.8 million TB cases, or you can say 28 lakh million cases in 2022, which is a huge amount, and the case fatality ratio is 12%. Out of this particular people, 28 lakh people, 12% of these people has a fate of death. They die because of the tuberculosis. The number is 3,42,000. Okay, so that is an estimate. So this is about the World Health Organization's report. Other than that, they have said that multi-drug resistant TB. So basically, when we are talking about the treatment of TB, there are different phases. Okay, the first line of defense, second line of defense. So when we are talking about multi-drug resistant TB, this does not respond to the second line of defense as well. Okay, so that is why we are saying that these are resistant to the drug. Okay, so that is kind of a crisis. This remains a public health crisis in India. There are nearly 1,10,000 MDR related cases in 2022. Okay, the report highlights a global recovery in the number of diagnosed with the TB and treated. So when we are talking about this number, it is recovering after the pandemic issues. When there was a pandemic in 2020, because of which there was some kind of disruption, and that disruption has been now recovering from this particular thing, COVID-19. The report indicates a significant worldwide recovery in the scale of TB diagnosis and treatment services. Okay, so TB diagnosis and for treatment services, these services are provided by the governments and the other PPP partners, etc. So when we are talking about the diagnosis and the treatment, we are kind of reversing the impacts of the COVID-19. As I told you now, from the effect of COVID-19, no doubt we are recovering, but when we are talking about overall TB burden, that is incident has been increasing. The TB incidence rate rose by 3%, 3.9%, basically you can say 4%. So basically, as I told you, these services or the effect of COVID from which we are recovering, no doubt, but when we are talking about overall, it is increase of nearly 4% between 2020 and 2022. Reversing the declines observed in the past 2 decades. So in past 2 decades, there was a decline, and after COVID, there was a surge, and now this is been, there is a rise in the cases. Okay, and when we are talking about the tuberculosis, it is a disease which is caused by bacterium called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Common symptoms are active lung TB. Of the active lung TB are cough with sputum, blood at times, chest pain, weakness, weight loss, fever, night sweats, etc. Other than that, when we are talking about the vaccine, there is only one vaccine, that is BCG vaccine. Okay, so this BCG vaccine is only prevention available as of now against the TB. TB is spread from person to person through air. Okay, and then when we are talking about other vaccines, there are 2 more vaccines, VPM Vaccine Project Management 1002 and MIP Mycobacterium indicus Mycobacterium indicus prani have been developed and identified for the TB, and they are under the phase of clinical trial. Okay, so there is only one active vaccine which is being used, that is BCG, and there are two other vaccines which is under trial. Okay, so these two vaccines are also important since these are in trial and are in news, so you can remember the names. Other than that, BCG is common vaccine which is being used for the prevention of TB. Okay, so that is about this particular article. And when we are talking about other than the article, when we talk about the global efforts for the reduction of the TB or India's efforts, these are the efforts: find, treat all, hashtag end TB. Okay, so this is the effort which is done by the WHO in collaboration with Global Fund and Stop TB Partnership. Okay, and other than that, when we are talking about India's efforts, National Strategic Plan for Tuberculosis Elimination is in place from 2017 to 2025. We have this target of 2025. Then Nikshay ecosystem. Okay, this is a TB information portal, you can say, or a system. Nikshay Poshan Yojana, it is a financial support. And then TB Harega Desh Jitega campaign. These are efforts which have been done by the Indian government to eliminate TB. Okay. Now RBI body raised concern over rise in borrowing by the NBFCs, these non-banking financial companies. Okay, hold on a second. So these non-banking financial companies, they are being borrowing from the banks. Now because of certain things, there are some issues. Well, let's say we are seeing a rise in unsecured loans, unsecured financing, you say, and that rise is moderate, and there is a decline in the secured borrowing. Other than that, there are some, since these NBFCs are not regulated or are not under the federal government, or you can say the government, okay, because these are not supposed to take demand deposits, etc. So these non-banking companies basically do some banking works, but they are not registered as bank. Okay, they do not have a banking license. These are registered as companies. Okay, so that is why these are not under the banking regulations. Okay, because of which there are chances that if you are going for this unsecured borrowing, there are chances, since they are not regulated, they will increase the risk in the system. And since all these NBFCs somehow related to some banks, since they are going for the bank borrowings, so ultimately they will, this non-traditional ways of borrowing, etc., will ultimately go for having some kind of induction impact on the traditional banking system. Okay, so ultimately that will put them on the risk as well. You must have heard the few cases, that is the ILNFS in 2018, and then DHFL case, in which these NBFCs collapsed, because of which there was a reduction in the market sentiment. Okay, so ultimately it impacted the market at that particular point of time. So ultimately, if there is a non-banking company which is too big to fall, and then that go for the crisis, and that crisis will ultimately have a spillover impact on the traditional banking system also. Okay, so now let's see what NBFCs are, then we'll talk about other things. Non-banking financial companies are entities that provide certain bank-like financial services. As I told you, they will provide certain bank-like financial services, but do not hold a banking license. Okay, they will not have a banking license. Since these institutes are not allowed to take traditional demand deposits, when we are talking about this saving accounts, current accounts, they are not supposed to take these saving accounts and demand deposits, etc. But because of this particular thing, they are not subjected to the banking regulations and oversight by the government. Okay, because of which they becomes risky if they are doing certain things which are increasing the risk, like unsecured borrowing. Okay, investment banks, mortgage lenders, money market funds, insurance companies, hedge funds, private equity funds. All these things are example of NBFC. When we are talking about India, there are few examples. You can see this Aditya Birla Capital, Bajaj Finance, Muthoot Finance, Reliance Capital. All these companies are basically your NBFCs. They are providing your financing services, etc., but they are not banks. Okay, so when such entities grow large and then fail because of some reason, that will have a spillover impact on the banks. Okay, so let's see what is the case now. So Center for Advanced Financial Research and Learning, that is a body of RBI only. Okay, they have expressed concern about rise in the bank financing for non-banking financial companies. So they have issue about this bank financing. Okay, so when these non-banking financial companies are going to bank for the financing, that is the bank financing, and now issue is that these trends are showing that they are going for the unsecured borrowings now. The increase in the bank financing for NBFCs raise concern about the systematic contagion and need for tighter prevention measures to mitigate potential systematic fallout. So basically here they are saying that there is a systematic contagion, like there will be a spillover impact. The need for tighter preventive measures to mitigate the potential system fallout. So since there will be an spillover impact, so we need to go for some kind of regulation or preventive actions. Okay, since they are not being governed by the banking regulations, so this is time that we go for some kind of regulation for NBFCs. This body warns about the fake illegal lending apps in the market which pose risk to the consumer privacy and financial stability. Since I have given you example like Aditya Birla Capital, etc. So there are other applications which might pose as a NBFC, but they will not be an NBFC. They ultimately collect the data and they will threaten the security or the privacy of the consumer. So that is one concern which has been raised by this particular body. Okay. Other than that, reports highlight a significant fall in secured borrowings. As I told you, they are going towards unsecured borrowing. No doubt, as of now, the trend is marginal only, marginal increase in the unsecured borrowings, indicating an increase in exposure to the riskier finance. If you are going for the unsecured borrowing, actually there is a difference between secured and unsecured. When we are talking about in the layman terms, when you go to a bank, go for a loan, and bank asks for a property to as a collateral. Okay, so that particular becomes a secured borrowing. If in case you are not paying the amount to the bank, they will take over the property. Okay, when other than that, when we are going for the loans like education loans or loans to the farmers, etc., these are unsecured loans. If they do not pay it, there will be loss of the bank. So in this case also they are going for the riskier finance because they are going for the unsecured borrowings. There has been a substantial decrease in the reserves and surpluses. So when we are talking about these reserves act as buffers. Okay, when we in the banking system, you must have heard about this SLR, CSR. All these things are basically act as reserve or a buffer. And for NBFCs also, when we take this thing, we are saying that there is a decrease in the reserves and surplus is also decreasing, because of which what happens is that the buffer to pay the loan is decreasing. So ultimately that will increase the risk. Okay, suggesting thinner financial buffers in the NBFC sectors. Okay, the report emphasizes the need for regulators and policymakers to balance innovation and borrower welfare in the financial sector. So basically here they are saying that you have to go for some kind of policy action or the regulations so that you can secure the borrower's welfare as well as the innovation. So when we are talking about this innovation, you can say the role of technology which has been increasing, and now there are new apps which are going to come in the market. So all these apps are result of this innovation. But when we are talking about this data has been stored by these apps and they ultimately use it for their other purposes, that actually goes for the problem. Okay, the report also highlights the significance of significant growth in the retail lending of loan books of NBFC and fintech lenders, outpacing traditional banks, with implications for the under-reserved borrowing segment. So basically what happens is that now these NBFCs are going for the more loans, etc., rather than the traditional banking system. So that is also a problematic thing, since these NBFC are giving loans to the public and they have the less buffer to pay their own loans. So ultimately that will cause that will be a cause of concern. Okay, so that is about this issue of NBFCs and the bank financing. Okay, then take down the misleading AI content centered to social media platforms. So basically, you must have heard about this Rashmika Mandana case. So in that, there were some deep fakes or AI generated pictures and videos has been circulated and gone viral. Now the concern raised is that that AI generated images and the videos are basically a source of misinformation, so that ultimately is a cause of concern for us. Okay, so we do not have an absolute, or you can say targeted policy or regulation towards AI. We are working on it, but there are some IT rules, IT under the IT Act. So government has given some directions under this particular Information Technology Act under section 66D that entails some kind of punishment for cheating by personation using computer resources with imprisonment of 3 years and fine up to 1 lakh. So basically, if you are doing some kind of impersonification, or you are trying to act as someone else, or you are posting photos for someone else, all these things will ultimately go turn into a imprisonment of 3 years and a fine up to 1 lakh rupees. So under this section, and other than that, Rule 3, Clause 2, Subclause B of the information technology rules, the government has said that social media platforms are required to take down content in the nature of impersonation, and including artificially morphed images of individual within 36 hours of the complaint. So basically, in this case also, government has used this particular rule and said that all those data, all those pictures and videos should be removed from the internet and taken down from the internet. Okay, other than that, when we are talking about this AI related issues, we know that there are these issues of dark web, etc. We cannot ultimately go and check on all these things. So ultimately, government has given, or there was this declaration on AI. Okay, so in that declaration, global leaders have said that all the big tech companies are to give the test related results to the federal government. When they are developing an AI tool or an application, they have to provide the details of the test to the government and before going to the consumer. So basically, if you are launching an app related to AI, you have to go to the government, you have to convince the government that this app is safe, and then you can go for the go in the public domain. Okay, actually we have discussed this in the last session as well. So this is about this particular article. Okay, then when we are talking about this editorial at a glance, odd even again. So basically, this issue has been in news because of the pollution only. We have discussed partially in the first article also. Here author is saying that after Diwali on 13th of November, this odd even scheme will start, because of which there will be some 12 lakh vehicles will be off the road. There are concerned that will this scheme or the odd even system would be having any significant success or not. In the past also, this does not had much success, and there were issues regarding the exemptions which has been given by the government, and there was tussle between NGT, National Green Tribunal, and the government. So all these things ultimately said that this scheme was not successful in the past. But the thing is, we know that despite this is not a successful scheme in the past, ultimately, as of now, when we are talking about the pollution load on Delhi, everything which can be used for it, we should use it. Okay, so ultimately government has gone for this particular thing, and this will take off 12 lakh vehicles. So ultimately they will reduce the emission of these 12 lakh vehicles from the road. So that is one good point. Other than that, government has gone for some exemptions like bikes, taxis, etc. These taxis are ultimately not from Delhi only, otherwise NCR region also, from UP, Rajasthan, Punjab, etc. These taxis comes to Delhi. So now government is saying that these taxis from other states are coming in Delhi, and they are responsible for the pollution also. But ultimately they have exempted these taxis and these two-wheelers. Earlier in the past, NGT had this issue, because of which there was a tussle between the government and the NGT. But right now we should not look for such trivial issues. We have a bigger monster on the plate. We have to talk about that. That is the pollution. Whatever efforts we can do for it, we should do it. Okay. So we know that the air quality has been severe for last 4 to 5 days. okay, and do not anticipate any immediate relief, okay, as of now. It does not reduce the airborne toxic below permission limit. When we are talking about this particular scheme, in the past it has said, people has said that it does not take away all the emissions from the environment which are toxic, okay, but ultimately even if it doesn't work, it does not take the toxins completely, but it is reducing them somehow, because this is a huge amount of vehicles on the road, okay. So this vehicle emission contributes about nearly 30% of the toxins in the atmosphere when we are talking about Delhi's pollution, okay. And Delhi is now and Mumbai, we are talking about the air episodes. Recently you must have heard about the Mumbai's pollution as well. So ultimately these other cities which are going to face such problems in the future can take an lesson from Delhi's learnings, and then implement schemes according to that. Other than that, when we are talking about such schemes, you know that if for such a scheme to work, you must have a robust public transport system. When we are talking about Delhi, we have a good amount of buses and metros, but still they are not enough for the Delhi's population. So government has to work on that behalf also. So that is about this particular article, okay. Then cheaper Russian oil helped India refiners save 3.3 billion in the first half of the financial year 24. So this is not a big amount, but when we are talking about these refiners, that savings are kind of huge. When we are talking about the whole trade of the government of India, that is not a very big amount, but ultimately when we are talking in terms of refiners, that is a huge amount, okay. So we have saved around 3.3 billion in the first half of the financial year through the purchase of the Russian crude oil. So why is that Russia is selling crude oil at a cheaper price, or you can say as a discounted price? Because after Ukraine war, what happens is most of the Western countries has imposed sanctions on the Russia, because of which Russian demand of the Russian oil has been decreasing. Russia needs finance for their war efforts, etc. So they are providing for some kind of discount on the crude prices, and ultimately India is one of the beneficiary, okay. So when we are talking about the average price in the market, Russian oil prices are some 12% lesser for us, and because of which Russia has become the largest oil supplier to India. Before Russia it was Iraq, but now it is Russia, okay. Russia accounts for nearly 39% of the imports of the crude oil. After that Iraq, then Saudi Arabia, UAE and USA. You can remember this data because there is a trend of asking, they can ask you who is following whom. These trends keeps changing, so you have to remember that, okay. So that can be important for your prelims statement based questions. And when we are talking about India's import, India is the world's third largest consumer of crude oil. It depends mostly on the import. 85% of our consumer demand is fulfilled by the imports. So basically that is why it is important that even if you are getting for the any kind of discount, that is important for us. So now Russia has become the largest crude oil supplier to India, replacing Iraq, okay. So that is about this article. And world affairs, this war has been going on for a long time now. Now what happens is they have gone to the Gaza also. They are saying that after the when we are done with the war, we will take the responsibility of the security of this particular Gaza Strip as well, okay. So they are not going for any kind of ceasefire. They have rejected the idea of ceasefire altogether, okay, unless Hamas are releasing all the hostages they have been keeping. So that is about this particular world affairs. So we have discussed most of the articles. We will go for the practice questions for the prelims. Multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, MDR TB, is resistant to which of the following? A. First line tuberculosis drugs. B. Second line tuberculosis drug. C. All antibiotics. D. Antifungal drugs. So you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. We will discuss it in the next live session, okay. So you can give it a try. And when we are talking about this practice question related to mains, how can the ongoing issue of stubble burning in the northern state be effectively tackled to reduce the substantial contribution to air pollution in Delhi? What policy changes and coordinated efforts are required to address this problem in both short and the short and the long term. So basically there are two questions in one thing. You can write for the 20 marker. Okay, so you can give it a try. Since we have discussed all these things in the first article itself, so we will not be discussing it again, but you can try to write an answer. Okay. Okay, well then we'll finish this particular session here. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.